because he knew something else about the unionization when you have support in the unionization of the workforce. Not only do they become better in establishing and struggling for their own particular specific needs individually and collectively in that process, but they also become better citizens. They become better participants in every aspect of citizenry. That's what democracy is about, becoming a part of that. Now, I've been working on a film in Detroit for the last 3 weeks. And Detroit, as we know Detroit is one of the, would be considered the birthplace of the assembly line. It's one of the major industrial defeats of the 20th century happened in Detroit. But also, Detroit is also the place for what we would refer to as this deindustrialization that has happened in this country. Detroit is the center for that. Very interesting. In Jeremy Roy Rifkin's book, The End of Work, he talked about, had a particular chapter on black labor. And he said, it's very prophetic, very profound statement. He said that it was not the Emancipation Proclamation that freed black people from the land. It was the cotton picking machine. The cotton picking machine. Believe me, it may be funny, but the cotton picking machine was invented in 1944. In 1944, 100% of the cotton picked in this country was picked by hand. Within 25 years, 100% of the cotton was picked by machine. What happened? That those workers, those field hands, those tenant farmers, those sharecroppers, what they did, removed from the land. Where did they come? To Pittsburgh, Detroit, Chicago, and they got jobs. Low-skilled jobs. Low-skilled jobs, but the jobs that paid them a decent living wage. They became members of the UAW. They became members of other unions, so they would begin to have a foothold in quote-unquote the American dream. Well, those jobs began to become outsourced. They began outsourced in other places in the world, in South America and other places in the world. You disenfranchise workers at that particular time and citizens at that time, and they leave them powerless. There's no pact base, there's no real civic engagement. They become forgotten within the whole process of governance, which eventually, as we know, led to some extent, in part, to the revolt in 1967. So we look at this whole process of deindustrialization, and we talk about that. I was talking to someone today, and they were talking about how we need to build an industrial manufacturing capacity. And building a manufacturing capacity takes time. The manufacturing, we can't talk about manufacturing and building this capacity in the same way that we have been in the past. It's been a 40, 30-year process where we talk about this extraordinary growth in the system here of the golden years, what they call the golden years of capitalism, 1945 to 1975, 30 years in that sense. We saw the end of World War II. We saw the rebuilding of Europe, the rebuilding of Japan. We saw the expansion of the highways passed by Eisenhower. We saw the great expansion, which gave breath also to the civil rights movement, because you can't create a movement without bread on the table. So it gave bread to the civil rights movement. So we saw this. So what are we looking at? And we're looking at, I mean, this is important for us to think about right now.